You ready? My hero.
Yeah. Hello?
The assistant.
Okay. So the reason why I wanted to just usually I would try and wing it, but I know it's being recorded, so just bear with me because I want it to be at least fairly accurate. So, the name of it is called All Chains Are the Same Until They're Not, and I'll dive a little bit into why that's my personal mentality on just the industry right now. So the blockchain landscape is crowded. I mean, I think that anyone who's been in the space for, let's say, even a minimum of 4 years, you've seen an astronomical amount of chains just launching, just popping up every other day. Whether or not those chains are actually launching, or they're just being capital is being raised for those chains, or people are just talking about ideas for a new chain, I think that there's no stopping the expansion of chains. So according to DeFi Llama, there are currently 388 chains, which I think is a lot, considering that even for the most part, through the circulation of narrative, you usually only hear people talk about, on average, maybe 6 to 8 chains at any given time, especially in nowadays. And according to L2Beat, 63 of those chains are roll-ups. So I think this is important to mention, is that for the most part, there's a major difference between layer 1 blockchains and layer 2 blockchains, but I think that what it comes down to is actually what the user is experiencing. And I'll go through this and ask the crowd a couple of rhetorical questions just so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Every week there's an average of 1 to 2 new chains announcing fundraising. So I'm pretty sure you guys see, if you're subscribed on Twitter or some Telegram bot, you're always seeing blank chain has raised $14 million from blank funds, or blank chain has raised $200 million. It's never ending. And I start to just wonder, are people just investing money in the chain just because that's all there is to do? Or is it that they feel that there's no upside in applications, and they'd rather just buy, VCs would rather just kind of stack on to speculative gas tokens? The question, will it ever stop? And I personally, and I think a lot of you guys will agree, I do not think it will ever stop. I think that is an infinite money glitch of venture capital figuring out a way to just throw money at chains, launch chains, build up hype from chains, and then eventually be using those chains for exit liquidity in terms of ROI for their fund. Here's a random example. While I was writing this at 3:30 in the morning, I saw this tweet pop up from 2 days ago, and I was reading it, and I was just so confused. And I think this is a perfect example of where we are in the space in regards to just chains coming up. So this is an example of a blockchain being developed. Let's read this. Robinhood is developing a blockchain-based platform that will allow retail investors in Europe to trade U.S. securities such as stocks. According to 2 people familiar with the matter, the venture will be likely launched through a partnership with a digital asset firm, according to the people. Arbitrum, a blockchain that is overlaid on Ethereum, and Solana, other people blockchain. They like to just make these things sound like all this, some new chain, new this, new that. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned in the beginning, I think that all chains are exactly the same thing. Institutions, banks, governments, and applications all want their own blockchains, whether it be for strategic, let's say, international presence. Maybe it's the board of directors of a company is saying hey, we need to get with the times and we need to have our own chain. Maybe it's the people and they're kind of lobbying to their government saying, we saw another nation launching their own blockchain. We need to get into this. I think there's a gold rush into not only maybe not specifically crypto per se right now, but into the technology in regards to just learning more about blockchains, whether or not they even need them or not, or if it's actually relevant to what the use case is. It totally irrelevant, right? And I came up with this pretty late. I think that we're in the Tamagotchi era of blockchain. I don't know about any of you guys, but you probably remember Tamagotchis. I don't know what they did, but I know that everyone wanted to have one. So I think this was a pretty cool picture where literally everyone wants to build a chain. And most of the time at BD and Sonic, when we're talking to larger applications that are now exploring building their own chain, Sam and myself always give them the response of like, why are you even building your own chain? And most of the time, they have no answer. The reality is that their answer is embarrassing. The answer is that they don't have product market fit. Chains are hot right now, so like maybe they have some early investors, and the early investors are, listen, guys, you need to pivot, you need to launch a chain ASAP. Let's get a chain going. And that's what they do, and then they raise more money, and then they have a product that is kind of lacking, and then they have a chain. What the chain is actually used for doesn't make any sense. And what ends up happening in result of that for most of the projects, which we're seeing in the industry right now, is just further liquidity fragmentation. So when you see an app chain launching, like it is furthering the liquidity fragmentation. And that's where I start to get really passionate about Sonic, because I think it has the ability, as Bernard was mentioning previously, which is like unifying a ton of transactions, scaling over 100 million transactions, and kind of having these app chains that no longer need to exist because they can use Sonic as the base layer to run their own business. In a broad sense, blockchains have one task, which is ordering transactions. That's something that we talk about all the time with Andre. Like whenever someone is mentioning, like trying to pitch something to us, Andre always keeps our team really aligned and tells us, good guys, the blockchain has one job, and that's ordering transactions. Everything else beyond that is just kind of like extra. So what we want to make sure is that when you have the tech and the ordering of the transactions is strong, as you saw yesterday from Camille and from Paul and Bernard, the tech is very strong. So secondary to the core functionality of this ordering transactions are the differentiating factors which enable unique use cases depending on the business and target audience of the chain. Sonic Tech enables endless possibilities without being tied down to being just a blank chain for narrative's sake. It's truly all purpose. So what you guys have seen in the industry is like RWA chain. Why are they launching an RWA chain? RWAs are hot. That chain is probably going to pivot when there's another new hot thing coming up into the market. So what we focus on Sonic is to not really like target ourselves. People like to call us a DeFi chain, which is great, but the reality of Sonic is that it's scalable to the point where we can accomplish many things beyond just being stuck in a niche. A common question is, what makes Sonic stand out against the rest? We get asked this literally every single day, whether we're talking to builders and faced with trying to, essentially convince them as why to build on Sonic. That's usually what we're asked. Well, why should I build on Sonic? And a lot of these things in terms of builders comes down to like where the incentives are, and I understand that. Money is what kind of why everyone is in this, and it does play a big part in it. Sonic provides real technical innovation, an emphasis on user and developer experience, prioritization of security, world-class testing and audits, native incentives with fee monetization, a new suite of native toolings with fee subsidy, dynamic fees, and native account abstraction, and an experienced team fueled by strong leadership and passion. I think that the last point is like one of the things that I like to tell everyone, if you've ever spoken to me in BD, is that like we ride or die for our team. I think that all the chains, even if every chain had Sonic technology right now, and there was 10 chains that were exact forks of Sonic, I'm confident that Sonic would still stick out because the actual team behind Sonic is one of the best in the industry, and we really have our heads tied on straight to get to the point where we are listening to and we're delivering based on what the demand is. We have a clear vision for the future. The question of the majority of Web3 users exploring a new chain, what really matters, right? This is a question, a rhetorical question for the audience, which is, do they actually care about the technology? Do they actually care about security? Do they care about the team? Do they care about all of these things? And I believe the answer is no. I think that people in the instinctual side of their Web3 experiences, what do they care about? They care about these few things. And please, if you disagree, I would love to hear it. 1, is the chain fast? 2, is the chain cheap? Can I use a familiar wallet? Do I need to go download some random wallet, new seed phrase, new this, new that? No. Can I bridge funds easily from Ethereum? Mainly from Ethereum, because as we all know, that's the hub of liquidity in DeFi. But let's say even other chains beyond that, maybe third-party bridges to Solana. Is there an ability to make swaps with low price impact, liquidity? Is there a USD safe haven, a native stablecoin? As you can see here, all of these things have UX. So the most important thing that everyone wants to know is, can I make money on the chain? And all these things that I mentioned here enable you to be able to do that at scale with ease because we're focusing on the UX. So again, all blockchains are the same until it comes down to the UX. What defines the UX? The tech. What defines the tech? The team. What defines the team? The culture and the passion of the team. We wouldn't have gotten to the point that we are behind Sonic and the current technology without the technical team, the BD team, the marketing team, the leadership, really caring about like how do we onboard users? How do we get this done? And then we kind of reverse engineered it. Well, you need to have the smoothest UX possible. It sounds easy. How do you get the smoothest UX possible? Tons of technical innovation, tons of time. And as you see yesterday, and as you see in production today, that experience is live. And as I mentioned yesterday in the audience, we're the fastest layer 1 EVM blockchain, period. So what point am I trying to make here? If all blockchains are built to have one task, and that's binary, then for the most part, all blockchains at their core are the same exact thing, regardless of their technical improvements. Where Sonic changes this is beyond the tech. It involves a holistic approach where we're leveraging that technology to further improve UX, enabling us to have a chain where developers do not need to worry about the chain doing its job properly, rather solely focus on your apps. This is what we talk about all the time with apps. It's you have an idea, come to Sonic, build on Sonic. Don't worry about the rest. Don't worry about uptime on the chain. Don't worry about native stablecoin. Our team is working tirelessly to make sure that we have all of these things in place for you to be able to deploy the best application that you can and utilize native tools built into Sonic so that you can, most importantly, make money and have a good user experience. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.